prime thing is you have to win.
Ill intent, violence, physicality, pain. Enough is enough.
All right, welcome back to the Just Win podcast. The Raiders officially have won 2 in a row. They beat the New Orleans Saints today, 25-10. They improved to 4-12. That's Tashan Reed. I'm Ted Wynn. That's Vic Tafer. Vic made the trip out to New Orleans. What's the locker room like? Guys celebrating. Mark Davis happy?
Yeah, everyone's really happy. A lot of hugs, a lot of high fives, a lot of yelling. Antonio Pierce talked to the team afterwards, and so did Amir Abdullah, and Mark Davis was in the background cheering and smiling, and he wants to win. Fans don't want to hear it, and they've fallen down to 8th or 9th in the draft board, but the players don't care about that kind of stuff. They want to win games. Mark Davis wants to win. Obviously, Antonio wants to win. He's kind of pushing for his job right now, so I think, it was a happy scene. No one really cares that the Saints aren't very good, that they're injured. It just kind of a win's a win. Now they have 2 in a row.
Yeah, according to Tankathon, they're 8th right now, so they lost a couple spots in the draft order. So for fans that care about that, I'm sure they're not too happy. But as we've been talking about, anybody that's really involved with the franchise doesn't really want them to lose. Whether it's the players, the young guys are trying to show why they deserve to be part of the rotation next year. The older guys set the test free agency are trying to get paid. Obviously, the coaches are coaching for their job, and even at the executive level, while I'm sure, Tom Telesco would like to have a better pick, he's not rooting for the team to lose, and same goes for Mark Davis. And so it's kind of funny seeing the reaction from people that are like confused that they're happy that they're winning. But, it wasn't like they were going against the juggernaut today. I mean, the New Orleans Saints, they didn't have Derek Carr, so that took a lot of steam out of this one. And they also didn't have Alvin Kamara or Chris Olave and a few other players. So, but, a win's a win. When you're coming out of a 10-game losing streak, back-to-back wins feels good no matter who you beat. So the fact that it's the Jaguars and the Saints isn't going to take any wind out of the Raiders' sails.
Yeah, but before we get too much into the game, let's talk a little bit about tanking. Like, teams, as far as the players, coaches, organizations, they shouldn't be tanking. Like, they should not have their view on losing games because, guys are coaching for their jobs, like you said. Guys are trying to put their best film on the field, whether it's for the Raiders next year or for a different team next year. But as a fan, it's understandable that you would be rooting for a loss because you know that in order to put yourself in best position to win in the future, a loss in a lost season is more valuable. So I don't blame the fans at all for wanting a loss and understanding that this is for the greater good. But at the same time, don't be confused that the team is trying to win. It's just the nature of what they do and what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, like the Raiders also are very young, at this point, at least after all the injuries, very young roster. A bunch of young guys are playing. So, pie in the sky, you want these guys to develop winning habits. You want them to have a game plan, follow it through, kind of execute your game plan and win games. And ideally, that kind of rhythm feeds itself, get into a pattern of winning patterns. So I know it's hard to see that now when you're freaking 4-12, but that's what the big picture it looks like if you're a player or a coach where to get these guys in a winning habit. And, again, there's a big debate that carries over from year to year, but you just want to give it a shot and see that you have some good habits going forward.
Yeah, I don't think it does carry over from year to year because teams are so different roster-wise from year to year. And AP might not even be the coach next year, so we'll see. But at the same time, like, you're never going to tell your players to play worse or to, like, the sneakiest tank move they could have made was to just IR AOC, Aidan O'Connell, because he's playing really well. He's not playing really well, but he's playing good enough to win these games. And we'll talk a little bit about Aidan in a bit, but let's first talk about the good news is a lot of the Raiders' young players are performing. They're playing well, and that bodes well in their development and seeing them play in the future. Obviously, the highlight is Brock Bowers, who has almost every rookie receiving record and broke Mike Ditka's tight end record that How long has that tight end record stood for?
It's 60 years.
Years.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like you beat a 60-year record. What other records did Brock Bowers?
I'll tell you
Off next.
a funny side note. Brock had no idea that Dick actually played football. He just knew him as a coach and a TV personality, so he was surprised to learn that Dick actually was a pretty good player in his day.
His 3 records was the Raiders single season catch record, which Darren Waller set a couple years ago when he went to the playoffs. Set the NFL single season rookie catch record, which Puka Nacua set last year, and then the Mike Dickey record that we just referenced. So he broke 3 records today. As we've all talked about all year, he's having a historic season and probably the Raiders' best draft pick since Max Crosby. And, he's going to be a building block for them moving forward. He's still only 22 years old. He just turned 22 earlier this month. And so you could only imagine he's going to get better from here. And, he's not playing in ideal circumstances. The quarterback play has been whatever. He's had 3 different starting quarterbacks this year, 2 different offensive play callers. The offensive line's been shuffling. The run game's been bad, but he's still had one of the greatest rookie seasons we've ever seen, regardless of position. So you can imagine, if things get a little bit more stable on the offensive side of the ball, what he could accomplish moving forward.
An important thing is he broke all those records before the extra 17th game. I mean, it's like if you break these records in the 17th game, it's like, all right, you got an extra game. But like he broke these records in time, so good for him. Yeah. Also, I mean, he's just like, you can't cover him in man coverage. The Saints play so much man, and like you just can't cover him. And in zone, he just flies past these underneath zones. You see him doing these crossers, and when they try to blitz, he's able to find an open hole. And it looks, I love when receivers catch the ball and then they could take off right away and get those yak yardage, and that's what he did today.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the young guys, outside of Bowers. I mean, I think, Jackson Powers Johnson and DJ Glaze were pretty solid today on the offensive line. Trey Tucker kind of had that broken play touchdown. Then on the defensive side of the ball, I guess they don't really have like young up and coming guys, but like some youngerish guys, whether it's Trayvon Merrick, who's, just finishing up his rookie deal, or, Calebon Chason, Isaiah Pullamau had a couple of big hits today. So they have, some guys flashing on both sides of the ball. It doesn't mean this roster is loaded or anything like that, but they do have, a nice little collection of young players that they could keep around moving forward to help build this roster up.
One young player that stood out was Tyree Wilson. He had his arguably his best game as a pro. He had his highest percentage of pressures, 27.6%. He's had his career. He had 8 pressures, 2 quarterback hits, 6 hurries, and half sack today. So they have some really, and he did it on outside too. He wasn't just inside pressuring. He did it on the edge. Obviously the Saints don't have very good tackles, but it's good to see him have success and continue to develop. Like I said, he's still just playing with pure like raw ability right now. He's still doesn't have consistent technique. So it's good to see him be able to do these things without that technique being really ingrained in him. So hopefully with an off season where he can really start to refine these things, he can have a real breakout year next year. And like you mentioned, JPJ was extremely physical in the run. I mean, he was playing left guard today. I don't think it matters where you put him. He's just a physical guy that just moves people out the way. He had one play in the first quarter where he tossed the defensive tackle into the tight end and had him fall over. And the Raiders had their best running, or their most efficient running game of the season. Again, the Saints are one of the worst run defenses in the league. And real quick, Trey Tucker, he had his best overall game, I thought, of his career last week against the Jaguars. But I wanted to see how he would perform against a team that plays a lot better and tighter man coverage, and the Saints are that team. And he didn't play that well. I mean, he did have that 1 touchdown catch, but he had only caught two catches on 8 targets, and I think he had some more opportunities. He just couldn't hang on to the ball or couldn't get away from physical coverage. So I think at this point, I'm starting to peg Trey Tucker in as just kind of like this flash guy that could get the occasional big play because of his speed, but I just don't know if he could be a consistent contributor at this point. I don't know if he could get there.
Nice catch in the back of the end zone. I think he's definitely shown some growth in their running ability. I think, I think he's a young guy. Still got, like you said, still got ways to go, but I think he's making progress.
Yeah, I just don't know if he has the physicality to be a real contributor from game to game, but that's just what I see from him now. Let's talk about the defense. The defense played really well today, held the Saints to 1 of 10 on third down. I thought Patrick Graham again had a good game plan, dialed it up on those money downs, and knew when to back off as well too. And one thing we didn't talk about was the report that Patrick Graham declined to sign a extension this year.
That didn't surprise me because I think he wants to be a head coach. So I don't know why. And I think also you want to see what happens with Pierce. So I don't think it's him saying goodbye. It's just him saying, I'm not going to attach myself at this point. I think it was, so that didn't surprise me. But I'm going back to, I thought he made some nice adjustments today at halftime. I thought they looked pretty bad the last drive of the half of the Saints. Got an easy 3 points. I was like, that's not good. But they made some adjustments and they held the Saints scoreless second half. Mentioned to Tyree, I thought Caleb Lott played really well. Robert Spillane was all over the place. I thought Jack Jones had a pick, and it's kind of weird. So one of the weirdest stats this year is that they're now 3-1 without Max Crosby, which is kind of a bizarre stat, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that those 3 wins are over the Browns, the Jaguars, and the Saints. I don't know how much,
It's a weird stat. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but no, Spillane was pretty good today. I mean, there's a stat the Raiders tweeted out. He's now one of only 3 players in Raiders history to record 100+ tackles, multiple interceptions, and multiple sacks in a single season, and he's done it in back-to-back years now. And I mean, going back to last season when he was signed, I don't think that many of us knew who he was, and he's been a hell of a signing for him. I mean, both years he's had pretty great seasons, and he's going to be a free agent, as we've talked about. But you'd have to imagine they want to bring him back with as well as he's playing and kind of the tone he sets in the middle of the defense. But I thought he really led the way today.
Yeah, I think you got to bring back Spillane. I mean, as he's just, and I don't think he's going to be that expensive as far as a culture guy, leader of the defense. It's hard finding linebackers now, and I think linebackers are pretty important with the kind of the importance of the run game coming back. So I think, you got to bring back Spillane. Let's talk about Amir Abdullah. Had his first 100 rushing game of his 10-year career today. Played really well. Had some catches as well. I thought the offensive line really did a good job of opening up some holes for him, but he took advantage. Made some guys miss on a second level. What do you guys think about Abdullah today?
It's a spark plug, I think. It's kind of cool. It's his first ever 100-yard rushing day. 10-year veteran. It was pretty amazing. And I just think, O-line, he kind of were vibing pretty early on, kind of reading each other pretty well, and made some nice reads and bounced off some double teams. And you wonder, I mean, he said a while back he was their best running back, and everyone kind of rolled their eyes, but he kind of is. So I wonder where they would have been if he'd been playing more early in the year. But yeah, definitely a tip of the cap to him for kind of hanging in there and showing what he's worth.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty great today. I mean, not just running the ball, but he had a few catches in the pass game as well. Almost had a touchdown, but he got marked out at the 1-yard line, and I think they ended up getting sacked or something, so they wasted it. They robbed him of a couple touchdowns today that would have made it even better. But pretty good performance for him, and I think I mean, big picture, I think it just means he should be part of the rotation next year, and he's going to be a guy that's testing free agency as well, I believe. So, even if it's as a backup or a third down back, I think he's earned a spot moving forward.
I mean, I wish Sincere McCormick was healthy, and I would have loved to see him run behind some of the holes that the offensive line made today. But let's move on and let's talk about the Raiders' draft position. I think a lot of our listeners want to know what's up with the draft position. Tashan, you remember I asked you, do you think your boy Drew Lock could get it done? And you said absolutely not. And he had a historically good game today. He had one of the top games as far as EPA per dropback that we've seen in the last 10 years. He lit the Colts up for 42 points and got the win for the Giants. What do you think about that, man?
So that's the thing about Tigers, man. You back a Tiger into a corner, you never know what's going to happen. So it's crazy. Had a sensational performance today. It was tough for some Raiders fans that were rooting for the draft positioning because the Giants finally won a game. They had a window there to move up in the draft order, and nope, another win. So the Raiders, as we said earlier, they're at 8 now. There are a few teams with 4 wins, but the issue is the Raiders have beat a few of them. The Jaguars and the Panthers, they beat them. Ironically, the Jets are one of the teams that pick ahead of the Raiders now, which shouts to Devontae Adams, I guess. But yeah. I mean, at this point, their chances of getting a top pick are pretty much dead if they're not already eliminated from getting that. But I guess it's not outside of the realm of possibilities that they could move up again to like 3 or 4. But it seems, in all likelihood, they're going to be picking towards that back end of the top 10, and so that most likely is going to take them out of range of getting Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward, who are considered to be the top quarterbacks, of course.
Yeah, Shadur did not have a good performance yesterday. I wonder how much that weighs into evaluators' eyes to have that last performance against a ranked team just be kind of a really terrible one. We've seen like the last performance really elevate a draft prospect, but yeah, he did not play well yesterday.
He wore his Giants cleats yesterday in that game. He wore his Giants red and blue cleats. Did not play well. The Giants said, "Screw this guy. We're going to win because this guy ain't our guy." So it was kind of a cosmic effect there. But I think the Jags now have the first pick, right, overall, as of right now?
No, I think it's the Patriots.
Oh, it's the Patriots. All right, so you still can trade up. I mean, both those teams have quarterbacks. So
Jags won today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad. So the Patriots, yeah. So you still can trade up if you have a need or a desire to get that guy. I think it's still a possibility.
Yeah, just the issue is like there's teams like the Browns, the Titans, the Giants ahead of you that have a better first round pick that could also just trade up. So I don't know. I guess it's not impossible, but it's starting to feel pretty unlikely the Raiders will be able to get one of those guys feasibly.
Yeah, it also stinks that they're probably out of the range for Travis Hunter too. I mean, like if you're not picking quarterback, having Travis Hunter as a backup plan, it would not be too shabby. But we'll see what happens. Still one more week to go, so we'll see where the Raiders end up ending up. And like you said, there's still a trade up option. It'll be costly, but it's still a possibility. All right, guys. We'll talk to you on Friday.
All right, y'all.
All right. Hasta la vista.